We're here at the Port Jefferson Free Library with Bill Zay. I hope I said your name correctly, who is a business advisor at the Small Business Development Center at Stony Brook University. And he is here to give us some very, very valuable information about small businesses, something I think they really need right now. So just before we get started, to let anyone who's listening know, we have a great program on African American genealogy tomorrow night. So anyone is interested in that, please give us a call. Also, our winter reading program is now in progress. Great thing to do during the winter months to get you through to spring. So that's ongoing right now. You can check in on our website and get going with that, or give us a call, 473-0022 here at the library, and any of the librarians can help you with that or anything else that you might need. So with that, I'm going to turn the reins over to Bill, and take it away, Bill.
And just to introduce myself, as Laura said, I am a business advisor with the Stony Brook Business Development Center. I've been there a little bit over 2 years. I was brought in to assist with the COVID relief programs, the Paycheck Protection Program, the Economic Injury Disaster Loans, the Restaurant Revitalization Funds, and the Shuttered Venue Operations Grants, and also the New York State Pandemic Grant. So that's basically my focus. But previous to that, I've had a number of small businesses, and I had a corporate career where I worked for a music company, EMI Music. And basically at one time, we were the second largest music company in the world. I was head of the global logistics operation, and my division delivered 2 million product daily to the marketplace. So that's a little bit about me. And what we're going to do, Joe, is we're going to talk about, what happens. Disasters happen. We've been dealing with one for 2 years, but they happen in many cases. And as a result of that, what is the biggest challenge in dealing with the disasters? And then we're going to talk about responses, things that you can bring into your business and help move your business forward. This presentation will be emailed to everybody who attends the webinar, and you can use this as a reference guide. We're going to talk about a 30, 60, 90-day plan. We're also going to talk about tips in various areas in banking, tips in customer service, protecting your business, how to lead in a crisis. And also we're going to talk about what we do at the Business Development Center. I've included some points to ponder from one of my greatest, my great management writers. And also there'll be questions and answers, but at any time, Joe, during the presentation, you have something, please let me know and we will answer it right away. This can be more of a discussion at certain phases, okay? So I'm gonna get on with the presentation. And things happen. I mean, basically for the last 2 years, we've been dealing with the pandemic. But in addition to that, there's forest fires. There's a lot of unplanned activities with floods, fires, things that we can't control that happen. That's a fact of life today. Now, as business people, there's a number of questions that kind of go through your mind. Now, how can I survive in this? Do I have to go out of business? What's going on? Now, Stephen King, you probably heard of him, one of those famous quotes is, there's no harm in hoping for the best. We kind of all do that. A lot of us are optimists, as long as you're prepared for the worst. And in many cases, a lot of us had no idea what we should be doing when things go horribly wrong, like a pandemic or a disaster. And, I don't know what to do, or prepared, but I wasn't prepared for this. So how do you prepare? Unfortunately, those are a lot of the questions that people ask. And a lot of businesses have experienced a number of paralysis, things that are caused by the pandemic. This never happened before. It's uncharted territory. The circumstances are unpredictable. In some cases, they change day to day. Do you wear masks? Don't you wear masks? What's the time period for this? How do you do that? A lot of frustration, a lot of confusion happening, okay? And now, how do you move on, okay? And basically, there's a need to assess and there's a need to kind of figure out what you're going to do and strategize. But, to do that, you got to figure out, how do you move forward? Okay. And in that, I'm going to ask you a question, Dale. What do you think is the biggest risk of all in this situation? Do you have any idea? Well, basically, the biggest risk of all is inertia. It's one of the laws of physics. Basically, if something isn't happening, it tends not to happen. And if something is happening, it's going to tend to continue to happen. That bodies in motion stay in motion, and bodies at rest stay at rest. And that applies to business, how you run your business. If you're doing something, you continue doing it. If you're not doing it, you tend not to do that. Okay, so how do we deal with all of that? Okay, and the cause for all of that really is, we are always taught from a very early age to be careful. Basically, be careful, don't hurt yourself. That you're going to get hurt. All of that is built into us, and there is this carefulness, this fear of things happening to us that's always with us throughout our lives. And we have to learn how to calibrate that or deal with that as we move into uncharted territory. Now, so what should we do? Now, I don't know how old you are, Joe, but there was a time many years ago when the New York Jets were a very powerful team. They were a playoff contender. They had a lot of well-known players, pros in the Pro Bowl. And they also had a group of people known as the New York Sack Exchange. They were a very powerful defensive front four. It was Marty Lyons, Joe Klecko, Abdul Salam, and Mark Gastineau. And a number of years ago, when my kids were young, I took them to see a Jets practice, and they were practicing at Hofstra University. And, my kids were really impressed with seeing the Jets practice, what was going on. And I was very interested in just watching the coaches and seeing how they interacted, especially with this well-known, professional, top of their game bunch of guys. And the thing that I heard them saying was something that was said to me when I was playing football at university and when I was playing football in high school. It was the same ideas. It was the same things, the blocking, the tackling, the basics. And basically, what I remember from that and what we're going to talk about a lot here tonight is the basics that you use to run your business. And when you do the basics well and have those all in place, what happens is you can do some fancy things, but the fancy things don't work if you don't have the basics in place. So now, I'm also a pilot, and kind of talking about basics, when you're planning to go on a trip, there's this acronym, this POAD, which is you take into account the conditions at the airport, the weather conditions at the airport you're leaving from, the weather conditions en route, and the weather conditions at the airport you're landing at. You also you plan how long it's going to take, what's the wind, so you know how much fuel you're going to use, and you have your plan. And then you fly, and you watch what's happening. And as you're watching what's happening, you figure out, well, am I on track? Am I on time? Am I behind? And you assess the situation, and then you make decisions and you take actions to put things in place to get where you want to go. And so basically here, we got to do this. So we're going to talk about some of the options that we have. And as I had said before, this will be sent to you so you can take a look at all these things. And we're going to, the first thing is, in the first 30 days, we strongly recommend that you reach out to us at the Business Development Center and you get an advisor to help you. Now, all of our services are free and confidential, and I'll go over that later. Okay. Another thing that a lot of people found very useful to do is compile a contact list of all of their employees, how can they get a hold of them, all their suppliers, the utilities, the service providers, and the lenders. Why? If you have that information readily available, if you need them in a hurry, it's very easy to find them if you have it. If you don't, you got to do a research project and all that. Okay. Then another important thing is to list your monthly expenses and your debt applications as they are right now. You also have an opportunity when you do that to play what we call financial offense. Talk to people who owe you money and see if you can collect some. And there's also defense. If you have bills outstanding, is there a way to talk with somebody, negotiate lower terms, maybe change a feature that you don't use, stretch out payments? It's a very important activity to do. And then another thing that is very important is to connect with local business organizations, aim to be known. There's a lot of organizations that have activities, so they know, the local people will know who you are. Basically, we also have a business roundtable once a month. It's a Zoom meeting where you can go in and listen to people and get known with local business owners. But also there's discussions about things that people have done. And you can also bring things that you're dealing with. Now, also in this 30-day period, it's very important to Google your business if you haven't done that. Check for the accuracy of what's being said about your business. What's the message? What's the content? Are there questions? Are there complaints? And have you responded to them? Great idea to do that to clear up that situation. You also, people have been conducting a social media audit of their competitors just to see what they're saying, to get new ideas and possibly, with reading those, you think of something that's new for you. Well, take an inventory of the systems and the processes that you have in place, regarding, basically, can you upgrade something to make it work better? Have you been thinking about that? Can you negotiate different payment terms? Can you finance it slightly differently? That would help you get through the pandemic. Okay. And then at the end of this period, there's set priorities for the next 30 days or the 60-day period, 30 to 60 day. Okay. Now, one of the things people have found very useful in this next period is to hit the reset button. Basically, we all have an idea of when we're running a business, how it's going, and there might be things that we would do differently if we were starting over. Well, what would you do differently? And think about possibly implementing that. Okay. It's a perfect time for you to learn social media if you don't know it. There's bring in new technology, and maybe paint the walls, maybe faster, if you don't accept Apple Pay, would that help your business? Would it make it faster? Is it more convenient? What are some of the things that you could do using technology to make it convenient for your customers? And also maybe clean up the place, paint the walls, make it a little bit cleaner. Okay. Then there's also looking at prioritizing positions. Are there people that you need or want? And is there a way to take a look at those, at getting those? Also look at your products and your services. There are some that are selling very well and there are some that may not. Basically are there things that you can change, and how do you do that? And basically when you have some ideas about that, maybe you work with some of your key customers, pick your top 10 and talk to them about some of the changes you're looking at to get feedback. They may have some great ideas. And also, if you have the ability, create some customer profiles that will give you an understanding of what people buy, when they buy it, why they buy it, so you can see what the habits are that you can be marketing to. And also, some of the products that you're selling, it's a great idea to go online and see what the rating for that product is, not necessarily your business, but the product that you're selling. Get the online reviews. And what people do learn from that is sometimes in those reviews, there's a comparison to another product that's better or worse, and you might get some ideas of different product offerings that you could use. Also, take a look at if you have a number of people who does what, and make sure everything is covered that needs to get done. And if there are any gaps, figure out how to make sure somebody is accountable for filling that gap of activity. And there's maybe some shortcuts. There's some things that you can do to speed up processes or make it quicker for you in managing the business. Now consider getting those. And the other thing is, now that you have the accountability chart, start holding yourself and your team accountable for doing the things that you've got on there. And one of the things, getting back to our inertia, to get things moving possibly faster, you may have to put in more effort and you may have to increase your pace to kind of get things going the way you want to. And if anything comes up that's a conflict, basically, and you have a couple of employees, listen to what's happening carefully and respond to that. Resolve them as quickly as possible. And if there are any issues that you have with how do you do that, you can, if you have an advisor at the Business Development Center, that's something that we can work with you on. Okay? And there's a lot of people don't know what their weekly cash flow is. It may not be weekly, but it's maybe a monthly thing to make sure you know what's happening in your business on the financial side, and if you're breaking even or losing money. And once you know that, you can kind of understand how to take some action to respond to that. Also, if you have a number of employees, there's a strong emphasis here on like daily huddles. This is where you get together. It may be a 5-minute, but it's got to be something that happens regularly. And there's a discussion of what's going on, what happened yesterday, what's coming up today, appreciation for people who did a really good job or something got really done well, announcements of some future things so people could start thinking about them. And then there's questions and answers that can be discussed and reviewed. And it's very important so that people feel that they've been heard. Now, we're going into, we're talking about the 60 to 90-day period, and we want to address the COVID safety concerns, how you responded to them, what's good, and how responsive you've been to that. Okay. Basically, it also could be a time, maybe you painted the back room, but can you refresh your storefront, refresh the way your website looks, the way people see you, your brand, and how can you make yourself noticeable, again, stand out among the crowd. Now, we're going to go into tips on banking. Now, one of the things that we've found in the last couple of years dealing with clients during the pandemic, a lot of people have gone into online banking. It's very convenient. It's very easy. The issue with that is that you're not dealing with a person. You don't have a relationship with the bank. We strongly encourage you, even if you're doing online banking, if possible, build a relationship with somebody at the bank so you have a relationship with that bank. Now, if you can't do that, find another bank that you can build a relationship with. It's very important that you have that relationship, and as you're dealing with things, you have somebody to talk to. If they can explain some of the options that they can for obtaining funding. And there's an opportunity also here to reach out to somebody like us. We are very familiar with all the grants and the loan programs that the federal government, the state governments, and the local governments are offering to support businesses. And we can work you through that. It's very important to keep records of all your business income and your expenses. Basically, if you have that and can talk to that very lucidly, it's very good as you start working with a banker if you want financial assistance. The important thing is to pay your taxes on time, avoid penalties. And review your financial information with your bookkeeper and accountant. A lot of the businesses, and I don't know if this applies to you, have a very good handle on running the business, but they haven't got an understanding of the financials. They don't know because their bookkeeper does it or their accountant takes care of that. There's a strong suggestion here to start having regular meetings with that person, whether it's the bookkeeper or the accountant, just to review the information. Not that you're going to become an accountant, but you understand what's happening in those areas. So you understand the finances of the business. Now we're going to go into customer service. Do you have any questions there, Joe, on that? Okay, perfect. No worries. So here's some of the things you do on customer service. There's things you can implement to increase your service presence. Now, implement online options for your customers or your clients if you haven't already done that. If you haven't got online ordering or booking or delivery options, take a look at implementing that. Basically, if you haven't, decided, if you're not using a lot of social media, basically determine what is the best platform for your business and basically learn how to use social media, including understanding what it tells you, the analytics. Now, create a realistic posting plan if you start using social media and stick to it. People will get drawn into, like it's every Tuesday, you publish something, they will react to that. They'll be looking for it on the Tuesdays. Hey, what's the posting here? And basically, we want to make sure that your posts are timely and give clients time to plan, to order, and make reservations. You don't want to have a daily flash sale, but you may want to say something like, in next week, here's what the items that are going to be going on sale, to make them aware so they have time to get into the store or order it online or place their order. They need time to react to what you're telling them, so make it timely. Basically, we all like positive messages. You also want to make sure that if you're using social media, very important today, that you use images that are inclusive and diverse. Very important to running a business today. And we also want to make sure that you choose this as an opportunity to let your business culture shine through. Okay? Now, if you're not confident about writing or your technical skills in dealing with social media, we have the ability to assist you with that. There's training that we can put you through. There's things that we can make you aware of, and that's all, once again, free for you. The other thing that you probably understand is you want to provide exceptional customer service to your clients and to your customers. Very, very important today. And while you're doing that, you also need to remember your regulars. The people that come every day to your business or regularly from the beginning, once a week, make sure that they are handled, treated very well. And you want to create promotions that will create business that will resonate with your customers. Basically, watch the calendar of events in your community and the business so you can have tie-in events, something like Restaurant Week, and you piggyback on that. Sell items that are, use your logo. Basically, get your staff involved in the customer service, reward them with good service, and going the extra mile. And that's very, very important. And look for promotions that engage regulars and find new customers. Okay. Then there's tips on protecting your business. Now, we've run across a number of incidences recently where people, cutting costs and didn't pay things, and they didn't have their liability insurance in place. Very important to purchase and maintain your liability insurance. And even if you have liability insurance, make sure it covers enough of the liabilities that that are necessary for your business. Now, what is your plan for business continuance? So what does that mean? Well, basically, if you're going to if you're using online systems, what do you do if the internet goes down for 2 hours? What happens if you're the person that does your credit card processing has an interruption? What are the backups that you have in place? Additionally, what's your succession plan? If you want to retire, will your family take over the business? Do you want to sell the business? But those are things that need to be thought through. And also at this point, you can review every aspect of your business for potential cost savings. There's also an opportunity here to review the operating hours and the days to determine if they need to be modified. If people aren't coming in, you're open till 9 o'clock at night, and people aren't coming in after 7, do you want to modify that? Save money, and also, people get a little bored standing around for 2 hours and not doing anything. And also, understand the profitability of your business when you're open to see how that all works. And there's, review staffing levels to determine the optimum levels and contribution of profitability. Do you have too many people? And is it costing you money? And are there times when you're very busy that you don't have enough and you might be losing business because people don't want to wait around? Don't be afraid to seek out emotional and mental health support. These times have been very trying, and there's that opportunity here to take a look at how that's affected you. It's also very important these days to keep track of all the legislative issues that are around. Basically, there was a time when it was almost like daily, we had proclamations and new executive orders. Well, they still come out periodically, and make sure that you're aware of them. Understand the requirements of those proclamations and those executive orders. Make sure you adjust your business accordingly to whatever they want you to do. And keep a journal of any questions or compliance issues that you have. And the other thing is collaborate with like businesses. If there's somebody, people in the area that are like businesses, talk to them and see if you can't help each other out with all these issues. Now, tips on how to lead in a crisis. Well, the first thing is, no matter what's going on, and it's very hard sometimes, remain calm and objective. You may have feelings and you may have to acknowledge your feelings, but you have to maintain a grounded demeanor. Be motivational and inspirational. Give messages that talk through the crisis and give hope. It's not doomsday, but there's something coming down the road. There's light at the end of the tunnel. To communicate more and often. Every message that, if you don't have anything to say, even if you say something like, hey, listen, nothing's changed yet, and as soon as it is, I'll get back to you, is helpful. There's a tendency when people don't know what's going on, especially people who own businesses, to kind of not reduce the communication until they have something to say. That lowering of the communication invites fear and causes people to have assumptions. Oh, something must be going wrong. Oh my God, okay. You can stop that by just communicating, hey, nothing's changed yet. And constantly remind people that until something has changed. And once again, meet often. In hard times, people really need to huddle and cuddle. Yeah. And one of the things that has been very effective, some people have found this in their businesses, is give the team something to do, even if it's something small. Doing something, finishing it, accomplishing something gives people a sense of alignment, gives them a feeling of being in control, gives them a feeling of there's a purpose. Now, this is also a prime opportunity to develop your team. People say, oh my goodness, we've got a crisis going on, but that's not the case. During a crisis like this, there is a tremendous increase in team bonding more than ever. And it's used this opportunity to kind of gently build on that team dynamic and build your team. Basically, give people breaks and diversions. Convince people, basically that there is stress going on and that it may be draining them. Rotate people into critical positions and, rotating people around. So give the people who are in the critical positions maybe a little relief when they're not there. And humor is very important. Use it sparingly, and it's a diversion. And there's also activities, maybe a ping pong table so people can, take a break once in a while. Also, basically, we've talked a little bit about this, but celebrate and acknowledgement. People want to be celebrated and acknowledged. People need to have a sense of achievement and appreciate what they do, or you show that they are appreciated. There's also a very important aspect here is protect your team. Acknowledge what's going on, the facts, the truth, but guard against unconfirmed rumors or information that's not necessary to know. And take care of you. You know, one of the biggest things, that I think of when I talk about this is when you've taken a flight, the flight attendant will always say, put your oxygen mask on first before attempting to help someone else. Very important. Now, what I'm going to do is tell you a little bit more about what we do at the Business Development Center. We are a service that is focused on supporting the small and the medium-sized businesses in the area. We provide business solutions and direction and resources. And basically, there's a whole bunch of areas that we work in. Now, here's what we do. All of our services, Joe, are free. And as important as being free, they're confidential. As we're working with a business, we may need to find out some information about finances and how the business is going. That information is not shared at all. Okay? And all of this activity is done by certified New York State business advisors. The information and the advising that we do covers all areas of a business, from starting a business, to running a business, to growing a business, to accounting issues, to online marketing, using social media, to basically everything. There's minority and women-owned business certification. There's assistance with getting government contracts. We cover all those areas with the businesses that are our clients. Okay. And we have workshops that have been recorded, and we have workshops that are coming up. So there's a schedule, and they cover all areas. Social media, there's customer relations, accounting principles, various topics of that nature. We also work with companies on enhancing their technology presence and using the capabilities that are available. There are a number of programs, depending on the type of business that you're in, that there's matching grants for investments for expansion and that. There is a Hispanic Initiative, very big Hispanic community on Long Island. And we've spent a lot of time recently in taking a lot of our materials, making sure that they're in Spanish, developing tools that support the Spanish function, the Spanish community, and to grow and manage their businesses. There's also some competitions that you may be interested in. There's a technology entrepreneurship competition that we participate in and guide people through. And then there's also, at Stony Brook, there's a Student Entrepreneur Challenge, which, basically we help students turn ideas into successful businesses. Now, we also have a lot of networks. We've talked about being out in the community. We have relationship with all these organizations. We have the ability to call on them resources and to work with the businesses that we have and deal with the issues and get some assistance. There is a number of special events that we're involved in. There's the annual Manufacturing Day Conference. Now, what that's about is we work with the Hopog Industrial Association, and we work with a number of manufacturers on the island. And last year, the whole focus is to expose college and high school students the opportunity in the manufacturing community on Long Island. And last year, there was close to 5,000 students who were able to do the virtual tours of some of the Long Island manufacturing facilities. And one of the best kept secrets that a lot of people on Long Island don't know is that the Hopog industrial area, which is made up of a lot of technology companies, manufacturing and research companies, is second only in size to Silicon Valley. And then there's, I had mentioned before, the Hispanic Business Initiative. There's the Student Entrepreneurial Challenges, and then there's the opportunity here to get money. Additionally, if you've developed something, if you've developed a technology, there are a number of opportunities to work and get grants and support from the government that we work with clients. And this is our staff. We have 9 people who have master's degrees and 2 people who have CPAs, and we have our support staff. Okay. And here's all of our contact information, Joe. Basically, you'll get this in the web, in the email. All this information will be there, but you can go to our website and check that out. If you want to make an appointment, if you have a question or would like to talk about getting counseling, you can click on the appointment. There's also a video which shows, promotional video, which shows what we do and how we do it. That's in English and in Spanish. There's also a mailing list that you can get subscribed to. You can give us a call or you can email our front desk, okay? And do you have any questions, Joe, before we move on? Anything? You can unmute if you like. Okay, you good? Okay. Okay, so now one of the people that I studied with is a very well-known management thinker. It's Peter F. Drucker. And we're pretty much at the end, Laura. And what I wanted to do was just talk about some points to ponder, okay? And basically, there's a couple of the famous Drucker statements. The best way to predict the future is to create it, okay? And then he talks about there is nothing so useless as doing efficiently what should not be done at all. And then efficiency is doing the right things. Effectiveness is doing things right. So actually, if efficiency is doing things right, effectiveness is doing the right things. I read that wrong. I'm sorry. The next one is one of my favorite. Most of what we call management consists of making it difficult for people to get their work done. The most important thing in communication is hearing what isn't said. Plans are only good intentions unless they immediately deteriorate into hard work. And management is doing things right. Leadership is doing the right thing. And well, thank you, Joe, for being with us. Do you have any questions before we to contact us? Okay. Let me see here. What is this?
Thank you so much, Phil, for being with us here this evening. This was an excellent presentation. I'm sure everyone who wasn't able to attend will really appreciate getting the information in their email as well as the recording. I think that's going to be a huge help for so many people right now. It's just truly a gold mine of information, really. So we really appreciate you being with us here this evening.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, there is a question from Joe. I'm just
Do we have a
reading
question?
that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. Let me see here. What is this? Let me see here. It's a long one. Oh my goodness, Joe. I'm sorry. For me, with many of your points on business management, but there are some things I have been negligent on. You know what, Joe? Everybody has about me. 55 master in engineering MBA from SBDC, starting business 20 years ago, and always in black. Have a few patents and trademarks. That's Joe. That's awesome. Yeah. So things like social media do not apply to us. Attending today has concern getting stale and net downtrend, which is why looking for refreshing my skills to overlook. Biggest issue for us are now getting direct contact with decision makers as all purchasing done through purchase agents which screen end users due to security. Supply chain lead times. Thanks, Bill. I'll reach out to you for a separate meeting. Joe, that would be great. Just when you basically, I will go back if you want, you can call this number tomorrow, the 631-632-9837, and speak with our intake person. Tell them you'd like to have a conversation, and within a couple of days, we'll set that up for you, if that works. Okay, Joe? Perfect. And thank you for sharing your information. Well, great. I think we're done.
I think so. I think we're good. We'll let everyone know about your contact info if we hear from anyone on our end, of course. And I think we're good for this evening. Thank you so much, Phil. It's a great
You're
presentation.
quite welcome.
Thank
It's been a pleasure. And thank you, Joe, for being here. I appreciate your attendance. Take
yes,
care.
thank you, Joe.
Yes.
Take care.